Hello, Boston. Yeah, come on. This is, let's see. All right. This is our first live podcast. And so the difference between a live podcast and a recorded one is you all. So you are expected to laugh at my jokes, no one else's. You are expected to cheer, be part of what we're doing here. Yeah, thank you. Who was that in the back? That's what I'm talking about, Michael. So we are back at it again with Build 617. We're on a public mission to explore the what ifs, the why nots, and the how-tos for Boston's ecosystem. We want to thank a16z and Tech Week for helping us put this on. We want to thank Day AI for hosting us here. And before we invite our guest up, I'm going to have Nathan tell you a little bit about Build 617.
So Build 617 was really founded on a very simple belief, and that's that Boston has some of the best minds, best talent, best builders in the world, and this city should be home to more category-defining companies. Part of this, there we go. Part of this came from a personal frustration building, co-founding an AI company here in Boston, getting told to move back to the Bay Area. I was out in the Bay Area. Hearing all the frustrations about building in Boston and why, all this negative stuff about building here. And instead of just taking all of that criticism, we decided to actually do something about it. Yeah. We're doing three things. We're hosting a podcast. We're telling stories about successful builders here, people who are building category-defining companies now and in the future. We are curating founder series dinners with successful founders here. And soon we're actually opening a space for founders to build shoulder to shoulder together at no cost. Fully at no cost. Yeah. And the coolest thing is that Nick and I are both founders here. So we're directly building something for ourselves and the other founders in this.
Welcome to our side quest.
And part of this is in my journey at Tamarind AI, we're building the future of strategic procurement. We're building a data layer on which procurement companies can optimize their strategies. And part of that is a very deliberate decision to build here in Boston.
And so I'm Nick Leonard. I'm the CEO of VoiceRun. We are a voice agent infrastructure and development platform. Couple ground rules, which I already mentioned right before we bring out our guests. You're allowed to laugh. We encourage you to be there. One way in which we're asking for your direct participation is towards the end, we will ask some of the questions that come from you all. And if your questions are the ones we select, you will be getting a Build 617 hat like this one. So over the course of the next, we expect the podcast full recording to be about an hour, maybe slightly under. In the first 30 minutes or so, if you email Nathan at build617, so that's build, the number 6, the number 1, the number 7, .org, not .com, .org. We'll pick some of the questions out and we'll ask. With that, you want to introduce our guest?
Today's guest is Christopher O'Donnell, co-founder and CEO at Day AI. If you spent any time around Boston's tech ecosystem over the last decade, you've probably felt the impact of systems Christopher helped build. Christopher spent more than a decade at HubSpot, where he helped build HubSpot CRM, eventually served as CPO, and during that time, he helped shape one of the most important software platforms to come out of Boston over the last generation, and had a front seat to how modern go-to-market systems are built, scaled, and where they start to break. Today, he's building Day AI, native CRM platform, reimagining how businesses manage and act on customer relationships, shifting software from static systems of record into intelligent systems that actually help teams operate, and he's backed by Sequoia. This is huge. He's backed by Sequoia, building in Boston.
So it's a bunch of firsts. It's a16z's first Tech Week here. It's our first ever live taping, and so we're going to be relying on you all to bring some energy. So we're going to invite our guests. We're going to pretend this is a talk show. We're going to get loud and get them excited. Christopher O'Donnell, welcome to the Build 617 podcast. We're excited to have you.
This is legit. Wow, welcome everybody. I'm so psyched everybody came out for this. It means a lot. Yeah.
I like that you're commenting on how legit it is. I want to start with, I don't know if this is an easy or hard question. You're going to have to tell me after, but I've seen some of your content elsewhere. And so I want you to help us understand, you come from a product background. So what makes a great product, and why do you love the Aga stove?
Oh, okay. The Aga stove. Is anybody here familiar with the Aga stove?
Yeah, what's an August stove?
Okay, that's 3 people, all of whom have been to my house. Oh man, you mentioned the Aga stove once in public, but I love it, and I think it's an easy question. So I have this stove, and it is an Aga stove. You've probably seen them in any kind of British, I don't know, docu-series or teledrama or whatever. It's like a solid piece of cast iron with one little flame in it. And so there are no burner dials or anything. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And it has 2 hot plates, and then it has 4 ovens, and that's it. And there's no adjustment whatsoever with it. And it's my favorite product in the world. It's super simple. There are basically no moving parts to it. It's entirely automatic. It's kid friendly, so my kids cook a lot. And you cook a little differently because it's always on. So in the summer it gets kind of warm. But you can toast a sandwich in it. You can cook oatmeal overnight with it. So it sort of changes your relationship to food, and it's really warm. And so we already have this thing, I feel like, in American culture where everybody gravitates toward the stove, and this just like really amplifies that. So we had to sort of design the house around everybody being magnetized to it. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good analogy for most desirable things.
So what do you think, like, in terms of having this like amazing physical product, like what can we translate from that to, building in the software space?
I think, we used to talk about be very careful with a settings page, like just in a typical web app. You're starting a web app from scratch, and the tendency is to, anytime somebody wants some configurability or some optionality or whatever, you just add a setting. And you end up with these, super cumbersome admin workflow apps. And so, resisting that tendency, we used to call it a fixed speed bicycle, like one speed, like a track bike, and try to do that for as long as you can to get the core of the thing right. Like when you grab a new product that you're signing up for, you want it to work for you automatically to the greatest extent possible, and then for it to very intentionally let you choose your own adventure. And so I think that part translates like very directly. And I don't know how to make software warmer or make it cook oatmeal, but I think they're working on that.
I kind of follow that, but like, is it too much of a stretch to say that we can inspire some of like the way you think about building day by the Aga stove, or am I reaching too far here?
No, I mean, I think, look, Day AI is something that will work off the shelf with, a bunch of sane defaults. It will do everything basically based on, the most common expectations. And the really nice thing in the AI age, especially for this kind of AI native thing where it's, the agent that you're working with is so deeply tied into everything. The expectation is that you can just talk to the product to change the configuration and have it behave a certain way. And so that part I think does translate pretty directly. And it probably is also fair that it requires a bit of a expectation shift on the user's part. Like, okay, this is going to be automatic. What does this mean? How do you cook differently when you have this thing that you're not sitting around configuring? You can toast bread on it. Like you can just put bread on the thing and it toasts. Like you don't need a toaster anymore. And so that's sort of a weird thing until you show somebody how to do it. So I could do this all day, baby. Yeah. I mean, we got a lot of these.
Sounds like, it's a different approach than say my Instapot, which gives me lots of different options, but just takes care of everything for me. Obviously, maybe you can't cook the same amount, but like, I'm kind of wondering, like you mentioned about the AI age, and I've seen, or maybe I'm frustrated by when I see competitive products that are just like, we'll take care of everything for you. Everything is done. Don't worry about it. They always make me feel uneasy as a buyer. And I'm just curious, like, how do you manage this feeling of like, hey, all the configuration's done. We took care of it for you, but you like you still need to be involved, or do they not need to be involved? What is someone's like relationship with your, like the platform, to the extent that like it's easy, but do they have to do things?
Boy, we didn't discuss this in the prep, and the fact that you just took this to the Instant Pot, it just really warms my heart. We have 2 of them here, and we use them to cook for the team. And the Instant Pot is even a better analogy probably, because you can do anything in an Instant Pot. Are you guys familiar with the Instant Pot? This is the product that it put the company out of business because the product was so good. You should look this story up. It's really cool. There was no planned, deprecation or planned obsolescence. Like, these things last forever, and you can saute in them, pressure cook in them, slow cook in them. You can use them as a rice cooker. They're unbelievable. So anyway, they do seem to be back around because we were able to order 2 of them. But yeah, that idea that, look, what do you need with an Instant Pot? You just need ideas. You just need to see examples of people using this magical device. And then, yeah, there's some configuration, but there's not a lot to the Instant Pot, right? Like, you're not going to mess up anything you try to do with it. It's really a question of inspiration and creativity. And I think that's really true for all these AI native products that are going to let you do so much. And, Mike Krieger at Anthropic calls it overhang, which is the delta between what is capable with these models and what we even try to do with them, which is a fascinating concept. If you take something like Opus 4.7, which we use pretty heavily in the product, and you ask it harder and harder questions, as long as it has the right source material, it will continue to blow your mind. So I think it's pretty similar in that way.
It's interesting from the CRM perspective. I've used some more complicated CRMs. How do you actually think about distilling something that can be so complicated down to something that's simple and easy to use and has one knob that you dial it right into what you want or need? And
for us, we made the decision not to completely do away with the legacy way of interacting with it. So in a CRM example, do you even bother showing deal boards and tables of, with views and all the rest of it? And we decided to do we call it the bridge from the past, which are these legacy UI kind of elements. And when we announced them and sort of rolled them out initially, in the post, I actually said, I hope that everybody uses these once. Because the idea is, you're not really going to trust something if you can't see it in the way you're used to seeing it and can kind of poke at it and scrub at it and sort of inspect it. In fact, you have to inspect everything a lot more, which is kind of ironic. But the way to think of it is really through the lens of if you had a human doing this. So as a CRM admin, just using CRM as the example of the day, you're in there creating reports and dashboards and pulling things and all the rest of it. The CEO at a 2,000 person company is not. They are being shown these things and they are asking questions to a person who is an expert in finding credible answers to those questions and presenting just the answers. That is now how you interact with it. No matter who you are at the company, you can ask questions even naively, and the thing will show you the charts and show you the data and tell you the stories and allow you to drill into it in really human ways, even without knowing anything about it. And I think that's going to be the new expectation for this whole generation of products.
I remember when VoiceRun, we were raising our first institutional round, the question always comes up what is my right to win, right? What is my experience in voice AI, et cetera, that allows me to be competitive? And when we think about, CRM and the future of it, it's worth noting that you were formerly the chief product officer at HubSpot. What did that journey of HubSpot, how's that informed what you're doing now? Obviously, there's some elements of lots of learning. You were a founder before that. How does that all, tell that narrative for me of how does that land you to where you are now and what you're doing here?
Yeah, I mean, you play the sport you grew up playing in a lot of ways. I don't think we have some sort of right to win. I don't think there's some moat or entitlement to any of this. It's what we do. We get up in the morning. I thought I was going to retire, and I was at the Apple store waiting for it to open the next morning at 10 a.m. I don't know. There's something wrong with me. I want a laptop. I want to hang out with my friends. You see how the office is set up. We don't have, rows of desks. We hang out together. We work on customer stuff. We're not really talking about movies and, music and stuff much. We're talking about customer stuff. We're talking about the product. We like this. We like it. I mean, that's the honest answer, is that we just do it because it's what we know and we like it. I like the customer of our product. I'm rooting for them. I think, this country, many countries are built through the entrepreneur, through the small business, taking a risk and trying to be of service to their customers. And so it's enormous fun, man. I mean, it's just enormously fun. Do we have some advantage because we've been working on this type of problem for a long time? Probably. Yeah, there are some things that are hard about it that are not obviously, going to be difficult when people start trying to vibe code a CRM. It's like, wait, I just vibe coded a CRM. And you go, okay, great. So are you going to share the data with the person sitting next to you? They're like, I haven't thought about that at all. It's like, yeah, it gets complicated really fast. And there are some lenses and ways to think about it that are probably helpful. I will say when we started it, we made the decision to consciously forget everything we knew about CRM because our instinct was, and this was May 2023, we had just gotten ChatGPT. And so we didn't really know where this was all going to go, but it felt like it was going to be a big enough of a difference that we just should start from scratch and not be getting on the phone with people and saying, oh, you want forecasting? Oh yeah, we know all about forecast reporting. It's like, no, talk to me. Tell me more. If you had a magical employee, what would they be giving you? Like really rethinking it. So, I think it can be a blessing, but it's also something to watch out for.
How are you thinking of, going from like assistive to further automation in the sales process? So like from CRM further down the stack to eventually, helping with more of the org and like thinking about the organization?
Oh yeah, but that's a great question. So I don't really actually think of CRM. I think of businesses. They have customers. They want to be of service to those customers. Ideally, those customers will be heavily evangelistic of that product. This is the best way to grow a company, is just to treat your customers super well. And that, of course, is a team sport well outside of sales. So, one of the most obvious things is we get the question a lot, what about post-sales handoff? Right. So if we're just like right down the middle of the plate, what's a use case that's transformative here? I get stuff put on my calendar, stuff assigned to me, whatever it is. Nobody ever grabs me to say, let me give you the background on this one, ever. There's no need. There's the complete and total expectation is that I'm going to get on that call with, this guy, Kyle, and I'm going to know that he coded an app with his daughter and she got yelled at school and he told the principal to shove it, like I know the whole backstory. I know this prospect's entire relationship with AI, the existential questions he has about it. I know the things that his boss is asking him to do at work. I know his background, the companies that he's worked for, his experience. I know everything about this. I get to just go onto the call and meet Kyle and hang out with him for an hour and try to figure out where I can be helpful. So that kind of like handoff situation, give me an implementation plan for so-and-so. It's like, you don't need a document. Nobody needs to write it up. You need to listen. You need to ask the questions. You need to get the raw information just said out loud somewhere. That's it. Everybody else can pick it up like a jazz musician, sort of like picking up off of motif that somebody's playing, and make it very organic and spend all your time doing the part that's really fun.
Yeah, and then I guess that kind of almost segues a little bit into, I think it's worth us talking for the audience around just kind of like what does like modern organization look like for AI native companies, and how do we think about this? And I'd love to almost, I'm not a trained psychologist, but I'd love to get into your psyche a little bit around that moment you described, going back to the Apple Store, being like, told my friends I was retiring and playing guitar, but actually we're booting the Mac back up. Like when you were doing that, like you founded a company before, different era. You had the long stint, and then you're like, okay, we're founding it again. We're founding something new now. Mm-hmm. Like in that moment, what were your expectations of what's different about building companies in 2023? And then now in 2026, like what were you right about? What were you wrong about? Like what is it about, how do you think about building and scaling a company?
I think at the beginning, there was a sense of just not knowing. Also, I think it's smart to stay really small. I was just talking to Kathy, who's here, and we saw each other fairly recently, and she's like, yeah, you were really small. You said you were like, 7 employees or something. And it wasn't that long ago. And we were, for 3 years, pretty much, we stayed very, very, very small, very lean. And, part of the reason for that is just that you can move a lot faster. Small teams win, period. And part of it also is trying to be very thoughtful about the org design and not building out, in our minds or on paper and in, the HR system, entire departments that may not exist in that way. And there are folks, including companies, very well-funded companies that are going after very similar kind of, vectors where they're doing the opposite. And they're, grabbing at untold sums early on before they even have a product. And we're hearing from friends, it's like, yeah, they're hiring 3 directors of customer success. It's like, what? How? To do what? You don't have a product yet. I think that patience is paying off because customer success, for example, I think that's going to be a very different role in the future. Trying to drive customer value. I mean, what we're doing in our post-sales sort of practice is so intimately tied to the business in question, our customer, what they're trying to do, how they're using this thing, that we would have never predicted that. And so I think a lot of these roles are gonna smush together. I don't think that product designer, product manager, front-end engineer, whatever, are these distinct paths. The role I had in 2011, 2012 at HubSpot, we were doing this re-platform that became the marketing product. And I look at what my role turned into over 10 years. There were like 8 different departments: product manager, front-end developer, product designer, user researcher, support expert, UX content writer, go-to-market lead, like on and on and on. And I think that kind of scaling and specialization is going to change a lot as we grow these companies in this age, because we can take that part of our job. Hey, I'm a product manager and, I don't have enough time to really pour over all of the support issues with the support folks and understand how to drive my team based on it. Okay, well, you can spin up an agent that will do that for you and really think about it, and think about it in the middle of the night and be watching everything that's happening and come to you with a very informed perspective. I think comp changes, I think ownership changes, the org tree, the sort of structure and ratios, I think all of that changes. And I don't think that we know confidently what roles change in what ways yet.
What do you think about, I'm assuming you saw the news a couple months ago, like Twitter laid off a significant portion of the team, and Jack Dorsey came out and said, I don't know, what is 4 layers or 5 layers? Like everyone needs to be within 4 or 5 layers of the CEO. Like, I don't know, if you were giving him advice, I'm not sure if you feel like you're qualified. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But like, what would you say? Hey, Jack, like still way too big? Still, it's a different, like, how do you think about it? I think it's way too big. 6,000 is still too big, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the call from Jack for my advice.
Yeah.
He must have my old number or something. I think it's right. I think it's just math. And the idea that we, in a job, have multiple roles. I'm the CEO today. Okay. Well, one role I have is investor relations. Another role I have is being responsible ultimately for the product. And I have sometimes some very deep product opinions that, I care to share with the team, so that's a role. I have a role of with marketing and planning campaigns and brand and so forth. We all have a number of roles within our job. And I think that we're going to be able to create these delightful, purpose-driven, coachable AI agents that will be part of our own personal little team. That does work. I think it is the right answer. That does change the org chart, because you are not going to solve those problems just with headcount. You're going to solve them with tokens. Maybe you're going to pay that employee more and give them more and more work as long as they can handle it. They are responsible for that work. They are responsible for coaching those agents. These are kind of living things. They are not a sort of swarm off in the distance that the CIO spins up and then you have the humans over here. It's like, no, we coexist. And so I do think 4 layers, yeah, the math probably holds. You know what I mean? Because each of those layers, you're going to be able to do easily 3 times as much just quote unquote work product, whatever the role is. If you're a marketer, you're going to be able to do 3 times as much marketing, probably a lot more. 2.5 pull requests a week. Like that ain't it, man.
Sorry, 2016.
Yeah, that is not it. If you're doing 2.5 pull requests a week, like you're going to really struggle to justify your employment. The good news is it's pretty easy to be doing 2 a day. And, how you spend your time changes. I think that you spend your time on the parts of your job that you are more kind of attracted to. And probably those are the parts where you add more value.
In terms of like organizational structure, it's almost like a math question. Do you think it'll be like, my role is expanding, so I'm going to like get more AI agents to do other parts where I might need insight into my job, or we're going to have, as an organization, these teams of agents that are shared across the org, and that's its own part of the hierarchy, or like that part seems like super uncertain to me.
It feels fairly certain to me now, and it probably didn't 6 months ago. If you work with this stuff in a commercial context, you will notice a couple of things. One is you can't have any meaningful work product go to production, so to speak. And I mean that outside of engineering. You can't have a marketing campaign go live. You can't have, a change set, a pull request go live into production in the product. You can't, update the pricing page. You can't do any actual work product without a single ringable neck. Like you can't do something and no human is responsible for it. It's not going to happen, which is good news for humans.
Yep.
Then you get into this paradox of, okay, so I think the individual is going to be in charge of managing these agents, 100%. Okay, now how do you get the person to have a good relationship with that agent, see value out of it, but also modify it because you are responsible for the work that it's doing? That is a really interesting square to circle here. And, an area of a lot of nuanced product work for us is, can we roll agents out that are pre-trained and know how to do a bunch of stuff? And it's intuitive for the people who receive those agents as their sort of personal team to give them feedback and kind of coach them and mold them. Because again, they are responsible for the work that they're doing.
So part of our goal for, we have entrepreneurs in the audience, we have entrepreneurs that are going to listen. We want to try to like give them something that can help them. And so to do that, I want to ask you something that maybe even comes off offensive. I'm not trying to offend you.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. But you got to tell your story to investors, to new employees, to customers. And what would you say to someone who's like, oh yeah, AI it's just an LLM wrapper?
Oh, okay. The wrapper. Yeah. Well, it is. Just the way a Ferrari is just a wrapper for gasoline.
Hell yeah. We like it. They like it.
Nice.
Well, it's true. I mean, look, there's an entire petrochemical, industry that produces the gasoline and makes it so that you can just go get it for, whatever it is, $19 a gallon or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can do with it what you want. You're not going to go make your own gasoline. You're not going to go spin yourself up, Opus 4.7. But what do you do with it? What are you going to put that into? And I like that the world is starting to get comfortable with the idea of a harness. This is great. A lot of our day-to-day is kind of watching the world to see what terms and concepts the world is kind of seeing. We're like so deep into the matrix on this stuff, and we can come up with lots of different ways of talking about it, but the harness idea is a really useful one for people. This idea that it is somehow like a client and a set of instructions and presets and something, the definition is not quite there. People use harness to mean slightly different things. But the general concept is really useful to people because it makes it easy to understand what it is that we're offering. So yeah, it's a wrapper.
Pretty good wrapper.
I like it.
Go ahead.
Oh, so we're in Boston. You guys are building in Boston. I thought maybe we could take it further down, the Boston, like, you're here. You talk about building in Boston. Maybe like, what was this moving analogy? Like you're moving, you're in Boston, like what?
Oh, the nice versus kind?
Yeah. Like, tell me more.
Listen, I don't know if this is true. I don't want to get in trouble for this, but this is not necessarily my opinion. But there was a bit that somebody did where they said, nice and kind are two different things. And, some parts of the country are nice and kind. Some parts of the country, like probably the Pacific Northwest, they're nice and kind. They say, maybe California, they're nice, but they're not kind. And in Boston, we're very kind, even if we're not very nice. And the bit is something like, this isn't mine, right? So I take no credit or responsibility or accountability whatsoever. But the bit, it goes like, you could go up to somebody on the street in Boston and say, will you help me move? I'm moving. I have a U-Haul. Will you help me move the stuff out of my apartment? And the random stranger will agree to do it, right? And then make fun of you the entire time for your furniture. You bringing this? You really bringing this couch? You bought this? You decided to purchase this couch? This was a conscious decision? Maybe it's true.
They better have bought it off Wayfair, at least.
100%. We buy everything off of Wayfair. Absolutely.
There's a lot of talk around like ecosystems and entrepreneurial ecosystems. And obviously we're talking about Boston, but you don't have to answer it in the lens of Boston. But when you're starting a company, what do you look for in the ecosystem that's going to give you the tailwinds, or that's going to be the tide that's going to help you, rise with it? How do you think about it consciously? And if you do, what are interesting components?
What do we look for in an ecosystem? Water, electricity, internet.
Check. Come to Boston. The water's cleaner now, so that's
fucking
good.
Apple Store, fiber. Literally, Andrew Bielecki, man. You give Andrew Bielecki a laptop and an internet connection, he'll build $1 billion business. I think that's badass. And you need friends. You need bright minds. This is the highest IQ set of zip codes in the world, as I understand it. So there is enormous just wattage and, cerebral firepower here. People are kind, generous, willing to do support tickets. There's a rugged, practical nature, customer driven kind of nature to Boston that I think is good, that I would want in any community. Yeah. And I think it's probably good to be in an area, if we're serious here for a minute, where you can work at scaling companies. I'm a big fan of that. Brian talks about that a lot. Brian Halligan talks about that a lot. I think he's totally right. I think paying your dues at a scaling company is a great way to set yourself up to start a company. It's a boring answer, go spend 10 years at a startup that goes public, but it's, at the end of the day, it's very effective.
One of the things we hear a lot about on the Build 617 podcast is a lot of this talk around Boston should be focused on atoms, not bits. And what people are trying to say is we've kind of already lost the frontier lab journey, right? OpenAI is already $1 trillion company, Anthropic's $1 trillion company, Google's Google. We should just focus on biology, hard science, robotics, deep tech. I don't know.
But it's even in the verticals.
Right. I run a software company. You're in a software company. What do they not understand?
I'm in a software company.
Okay. You're included. We've got great chemistry. We're great partners. What are they missing? Why do we keep hearing, we're hearing this over and over again? Maybe there's some selection bias because it was Jason Kelly, but broadly, what are they missing that no, we can do software here. It can be great. I don't know. I'm trying to find an explanation. All I hear is atoms over bits, atoms over bits.
I don't know how you do any of the things you just talked about without software, by the way.
Fair.
Yep. These robot dogs and stuff that we make in Boston, you've seen those things. Bring them by my kid's school. That shit is legit. It's cool. The robotic stuff, Boston Dynamics, all the rest of that, the, Roomba and all of the diaspora around Amazon and Alexa and all of the robotics, cats and everything like that. I once told an investor, oh man, I have such FOMO about robotics, man. I wish I'd done an electrical engineering degree. And he said, well, it's software wrapped in plastic. And I was like, I point taken. I think that's not entirely true. I think there's a lot more to it than that. But, all of this stuff, drug development, you name it, there's an enormous amount of software involved in that. And we've built a lot of software in Boston. So I have not heard that. But I live in a cave. You're all in the cave that I live in. This is the cave. If you ever want to hang out, I am here. I assure you. Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, we hear it a lot of people. Boston should just focus on what we're good at. That's what we hear, which kind of, I find it a little I mean, personally, just my disclaimer is like, I find it a little condescending. Like, I think we can do great software. I think there's a lot we can do.
It's bullshit. I mean,
There it is.
I mean, give me a break. Well, where did all these people who are, there's this crew that went to do all of this, frontier model stuff, and where'd they meet?
Cambridge.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not. You guys know I'm not on the whole like Boston, downer vibe. I'm like, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, oh man, Boston's great. I don't know what the issue is.
Well, like, okay, let's. Boston's great. There's probably things we can improve. Like, if you were, I know it's very anti-Boston to have like a supreme leader, but if you were a supreme leader of Boston for the day or 2 days, like, what are there changes you'd want to see? Are there things that we could do? That you're like, oh, if we only just opened up a 1 mile square radius of autonomous driving zones, or if, what ideas, are there things that low-hanging fruit we could be doing, like as a ecosystem, community, government, that we should be doing?
Interesting. Things that the government could be doing.
Yeah, or businesses, but I think a lot of people like, government's fun. If you're supreme leader, you probably want to change the government rules.
Yeah, I would not probably accept the role of Supreme Leader of Massachusetts, and I would certainly not be offered it.
I would throw your tea in the harbor. So
yeah, I mean that sounds good. Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, there's probably some inside baseball stuff here, that somebody thoughtful and educated on this could say about tax incentives or whatever. I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is for people who are from here, who leave and come back. What are the things that could make that easier? I do think people focus on the brain drain after undergrad or maybe after PhD programs and so forth. And there are some high profile examples of this, like we were just remarking on. And I think that people miss how many people are around town who are a bit older. And why does that happen? Because a lot of people grew up out here and their families are still here. Their parents are still here. So you grow up out here, you go to school around here, let's say, and then you graduate, you want to get into tech. You end up hearing from everybody, you got to move to the Bay Area. You move to the Bay Area. Listen, you're 34, 35, 36 years old. Maybe you have kids. Maybe your parents are getting older. A lot of these people move back. And, what is that kind of re-entry back onto the East Coast like? Because those people, if you look statistically, those people are ideal operators and ideal founders. That's like the ideal demographic profile of a unicorn tech founder is that. It's like a 38-year-old who has spent a bunch of time at successful scaling tech companies. Go over to Encore and you can bet on somebody being a successful founder. That's the sure bet. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you would do policy-wise, but that would be kind of what I would ask my cabinet if I were Supreme Leader. Do Supreme Leaders have cabinets or just minions?
You can choose. You have to recruit them within the day, though, so it's pretty tough, I think.
Yeah.
I needed you when I was raising capital. Like I need you to front run tell the investors that you want someone who's 37, 38. Like, that would be perfect. Fuck. Maybe my Series A. I'll come find you.
Those are facts, though.
Yeah.
Those are facts.
Do we have any audience questions?
Yeah, so we've been getting a steady stream of audience questions. We have one from Pablo here, which is around the return of the polymath. So this person that can kind of just do like everything and they're good at everything, and now they actually like have the capability to do UX, research, be a product manager. Are we gonna like lose specialists and just have like these polymath people, or?
I read something, and I can't remember who it was. It was Eli Gill or somebody very thoughtful, somebody like that, if it wasn't him, saying there are going to be 4 archetypes in the new world. And the first is just producers, producers. And I've always loved the idea, frankly, of just a producer. I'm looking at Chris Bourne, who I've known since high school, and like that guy's a fucking producer. That guy can make anything. And has since high school. He can learn an instrument if he wants to play the instrument. He's my favorite photographer. He's an unbelievable artist. He's that type of person who just is not in their own way and will try anything. 2 of the most prolific software engineering core contributors at Day AI had not ever had a role as a commercial software engineer before joining this company. One of them recently, as we sort of look at the marketing side and we want to set up, you're going to start to see us more out there in, ads and that kind of thing. We're doing that whole swing. Her learning curve was a day, and we had this idea, well, we should take how people actually use the product, bind to that, start to tell those stories in an anonymized way as one type of ad that we can serve to people, is show them concretely, like, this is a thing people are doing. You can do this too, and figure out different ways of telling the story. That's half a day for her to bind into that data source in the right way, efficient way, with tokens, trustworthy, labeling the data, all the rest of it. So these learning curves are just, those are the kind of people you want around, are the people who are polymathic. I don't know what the adjective is. And we encourage that, right? We have so many instruments here. We have a wood shop. We've, all this stuff you see here, that wall back there. I mean, we built all this. The stage, this was us. This was calling in a favor from a friend who's an architect. This is, getting in here in the summer, nights and weekends, figuring out how to cut this stuff out and figuring out how to frame. It's fun to learn how to frame when you're doing really weird shit with framing, like curved walls. But the framers didn't want to do it. Actually, they're like, I'm on vacation. You're like, you're on vacation again? Let's have a conversation about it. Oh, we don't really want to do these curved walls. So anyway, I think it's like massively advantaged for these producers in this new world. Then you have the architects. These are the hardcore systems thinkers who are going to drive performance and security and everything. And then you have the grownups. People who are just adults, just a fucking adult in the room. You're always going to need that. Someone who's like, all right, everybody, but what are we doing? You need the grownups. And then you need people who, I don't like the label they used in this article, so I'm not going to use it, but people who are sort of the face of the company. Charming, credible, intelligent, thoughtful, storyteller type folks in sales or in developer relations, whatever it is. Those four archetypes, I think, are right. And then everything kind of gets squished in the roles. I do think salespeople will just really be able to be salespeople. I think it's great. I love salespeople. I mean, as a buyer, I love a salesperson, especially if they remember everything, especially if they don't go anywhere and they don't hand me off. I love that. So I do think some roles will stay pretty similar, but a lot of these roles kind of smush together.
Awesome. I think we have one more audience question, which is around agile rituals. So sprints, backlogs, story points, kind of the traditional software process.
They're not going to like my answer.
Okay. Well, part of it is, what are you guys doing here? And are those going to die? Are they going to stay?
Can we extend this another hour to talk about the future of Scrum?
Is there an hour of content to talk about the future of Scrum?
Oh, God.
God, no.
Thought it's a short conversation.
No, look, I think, when you're designing a system, including an engineering culture, you need to put guardrails and process and culture in place where you're weak. I think most engineering and product organizations have the same two principal challenges. One, being distracted and thrashed around by the surrounding company. And two, getting something to production. Yep. These are the two most common things. Agile, Scrum, I remember when it was called extreme programming, that lasted like 10 minutes. Somebody's like, it's called extreme programming. And they're like, Jeff, sit down. No, not that. Anything else? Somebody's like, what about Scrum? They're like, that's frankly better. We're just
sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, sorry, Jeff. Is Scrum like the rugby Scrum? No, not that. Well, what's it mean? We don't know, but we know it's not that. Okay, great. Here's $10,000. Can I get a certificate? I think it was like a real gift in a lot of ways for so many organizations to just have a little bit of protection, a little bit of internal accountability, and to get the momentum, getting to production, having a demo day, like all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, dude, this stuff moves so fast. I mean, you are prioritizing on an hourly or daily basis. And so I do think the rituals will need to be very, very different. I do think it's really fun. I mean, whatever gets the dopamine, we have Slack channels for everybody at the company where we just talk out loud. Keller, this is an Aaron White thing. the Aaron White thing, the rubber duck channels. If I don't give him credit, he's going to come for me. He's one of my best friends. But just, some way so that people can show their work and get that dopamine hit from customers, from their colleagues, like especially in engineering, that's really what we're after. So I would kind of go in that direction.
We're getting close to the end of this. One favor I want to ask of you. Every time we have a guest on the pod, what's really important is us to get inspiration of like, who has stories that need to be told? Boston entrepreneurs, government officials, investors, people who founders should hear from. Who do you think we should talk to?
I think Kathy should do this. Kathy Lewinberg, Bevy. I think, yeah.
Hi, Kathy. We got her on the hook now. So we made eye contact. She has to accept our invitation.
No. She's amazing. And the company, this is just a really, really cool company because it's about sustainability. It's not about, the water that comes out. We're customers, and it's a really cool product that you see how many bottles you've saved, right? And you kind of get hooked on it immediately from day zero. But I think that the storytelling and the leadership is really good. I almost wish Kathy weren't here because now it's like awkward because, she's looking at me and I'm saying these things. But genuinely very, very cool. And I think it makes it really fun to work for a company where you come in and you have a thing, you have a machine, you have a distribution model, you have all these things, but there is a larger purpose. I think that's, something that a standard we all really need to reach for, because the larger purpose it really makes it fun over the course of your life. You look at 80,000 hours spent at work, and if you have that feeling of reward and satisfaction, it makes a big difference.
Last question. Usually we ask people to paint us an optimistic vision. I don't feel like I need to use the word optimistic. I think I'm going to get that by default from you. But give me what's Boston going to do over the next 10 years? What do you want to see what do you want to see happen here? Give everyone something to aspire to before we send off.
Stay. I mean, for folks, stay. Or if you're in California, come back. Come back. Come back. Take care of your parents. What are you doing? What are you doing? Your parents are here. Your parents are in Weston. They're getting older. I'm looking at the camera. They're in Weston. They're aging. Okay. They don't hear from you enough. You got to buy a house, come back here, start a company, leave Fang, and make a little less money. But it's so cheap to live here that.
And the summers are great.
Yeah. Just make your decision. Just come back June 15th. Yeah. And decide if you want to come back and move your family back here. But yeah, I mean, look, life is life. Life is more than, life is more than work, or so I've been told. It's a great place to raise a family. You know what I mean? And just kind of the balance of everything, getting kids involved, having the accessibility to downtown. I spend weekends in here with my kids and they get to see the whole thing and be a part of it. Think of the entrepreneurial journey as a family endeavor. And Boston looks pretty different. This was a pivot that we made as a family very consciously. Like, hold on, we're not going to be able to do this if it's dad's off doing dad's work stuff that is inconvenient, and then he's here, and distracted and it's annoying. It's like, no, let's talk about this. If we're doing fundraising, let's talk about it. Let's talk about a Sequoia fundraising the same way we talked about investing in their, cookie business and doing the napkin math on that business. Like, let's then show them this next thing and get them all involved. I think that over the course of the next 10 years will make a big difference too. That was a great thing about HubSpot. I always called it a teaching hospital. This was a place where even as a C-level executive, Brian would teach the room how to think about the question we were facing and show the numbers and, create a nice little grid or whatever it was and illustrate how different companies were solving this problem, and then hand you the whiteboard marker at a fucking public company to weigh in and make the decision. And if you look at the leaders that have come out of there, that mentality is what created that. And I think we just doubled down on that. Stick around.
Hell yeah. We love that. I'm Nick Leonard, Nathan from Build 617. Thank you all for taking time out of your workday. Christopher, thanks for being with us today. We're really grateful.
Oh,
Thanks,
thank
everyone.
you. It was a lot of fun. Thank you, guys. That was awesome. Thank you. Oh, thank you.